into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey guys, and welcome back to another edition of Walking Dead AFTERBUZZ TV After Show, and we're back with a full crew. It's been a while.
Nice. It has been a while.
I mean, fortunately, Joyce survived. We're throwing out those.
I survived. I didn't have to cut off a limb.
No. It's really lucky. Well, you can only see the top half, though, so I don't know the legs.
Don't tell anyone my secret.
And I'm not saying anything anymore. Joining us today, though, Joyce Ajouri.
Yes. Hi, guys. Good to be back.
Derrial Christon.
What's up, everybody? How you doing?
Nando Velasquez.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing?
And guys, I'm Dave Klein. And we're going to do, once again, kind of structure the episode a little bit differently like last week. So again, let us know what you guys think. And if you enjoy the way we handle it, we figured we go more thematically this time through as, once again, one single storyline. So it's supposed to just go in storyline piece by piece, kind of tackle various themes. So we're going to start with the flashbacks and talk about the flashbacks overall. And just this consistent theme of the fire and burning. And you kept on seeing all those shots with Carol and how everything in her life has been burning away. And that's what we keep on seeing with her.
But also, I mean, I was reading an article just now before we started this, and they were mentioning how fire also cleanses and kind of, you know, gets rid of the bad. Like, they burn the bodies, it kind of just gets rid of them, gets rid of that history, and you just get to start over, which is what we keep hearing Derrial and Carol talk about. It's like, you get to start over again. It's like, so.
No, absolutely. I mean, what was interesting was, I mean, this is the second week in a row where we see these flashbacks. It was almost, you know, maybe because I saw them talk about it on the Talking Dead for a second. They talked about Lost. It's almost kind of like a Lost type of thing now.
They did kind of have that feel to it.
They're doing these flashbacks. I mean, these flashbacks are super fast, and they don't really convey much other than, I think, just the thematics of it. But again, she was using the smoke as a guide to guide her the first couple of flashbacks. And then that one where she burned the bodies from last season because they were infected, she caused that. So I think it was really, really interesting how she went from, you know, the flashbacks went from her using it as a guidepost, like where there's smoke, there's fire, and she's going to the fire, where she's causing the fire.
Yeah.
And I think that also says a lot about her own arc as well. Even though it's not directly related, it still kind of shows she was somebody that was always going to where there was danger, even though she wasn't the cause of it. And now here she is. She's the badass. She's the one that's causing all the trouble. And we see that a lot in this episode when she says, you know, I don't know if people are worth saving anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think was really, really interesting.
See, I kept on seeing, I guess, with the fire, what I'd interpret, and obviously, you were in the Talking Dead infos, that's the, well, sometimes the real info. I don't know, they had a couple actors on the show, but,
there was nothing I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that Yvette Nicole Brown is awesome and I love her.
Well, I was going to say, my interpretation that I pulled from it was this consistent theme of loss with her, where it was like she kept on getting drawn towards the fire, and I totally agree with that, but it was almost like she kept on getting drawn towards everything that she knew, and everything that she loved kept on getting burnt away consistently. Like, her seeing the prison on fire meant, again, another loss, and she referenced Sophia and how that was a fire in the barn, and that was, well, there was a fire, and that I mean, she'd already turned at that point, but the fire represented the loss of Sophia. And it just
Sophia got burned.
Right. Yeah. So it's just like everything that she knows and loves just keeps on getting burnt away and represented by that loss. And it was interesting, too, at the end, too, when she was finally captured, and then there was that ending shot of the fire as well, representing yet again something burning away and being taken away. So that was what I was getting, but there is that truth of the rebirth too, because that was the conflicting theme with her and Derrial.
Well, I thought what was interesting too, the one fire that wasn't one of the fires that wasn't a flashback was the one fire of Derrial burning the bodies, from the place where they were staying at, the home where they were staying at. And I thought that was really interesting in many ways, because Carol's usually the one that does all the hard work, all that kind of, you know, we saw her with in the flashback with Lizzie and Mika. She's the one that usually takes care of the bodies, or she's used to doing it, and here's Derrial saying, no, I have this.
Yeah.
Are you saying Tyrese couldn't handle it?
Well, no, Tyrese was
big teddy
was
bear?
there. He was
yeah,
there
he
too.
was there.
Wasn't he the one that was digging the hole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also took it as a correlation between, in both of those shots, the first one with her and Derrial and the bodies burning, the smoke going up, and then the second one with Tyrese and the bodies, she looked at the sky both times. And then there was a theme here also for the show that she talked about, I don't know if I believe in God. So I took it as also maybe it was her looking to the sky like, God, is there really a God? All this stuff is happening, this negative, this bad stuff is happening, and she was looking to the sky like, we are like, is there God? Like, God, what are you thinking? Like, why'd you do that? And it's like her way of kind of dealing with it in that sense and looking to the sky for the answer.
Yeah,
it's like, are you getting our smoke signals, God?
Right, exactly.
Well, especially with what she said too about when she used to pray all the time after her husband would beat her, and who she used to be, and that's a great correlation to that.
Well, I mean, ashes to ashes, dust to dust is such a familiar phrase in religion, and I thought again that line that Derrial said, "We're not ashes yet," is a really big line in so many ways.
Yeah. And then she also mentioned too about when going back to being burned, when she was talking to Derrial, she referenced to the fact, like you were saying, that she's no longer that person that she used to be, and that now she feels like she's the person that she was always supposed to be. Now that she's this fighter and kind of soldier.
But when she said that story, she said when she wasn't that person, if she went running back to Ed after a day and a half at the home,
that's true.
Then Sophia got burned. But then she said when she became that person in the prison, then she was referring to Lizzie and Mika. They got burned.
Yeah.
So even herself too, with her prison game burnt away too. That was another one.
That was too. But I think what she was trying to say there is it doesn't matter what direction I'm. She's someone who's technically, it's really funny because in a way in this episode, now that I think about it, she's kind of lost. And no matter where she goes, whether it's the old Carol, where she was obviously getting abused by Ed and she was just doing what she was supposed to do and what was expected of her, or being this new Carol, the person that she wanted to be. The protector. Either way, people in her life still get burned.
I was going to say that's her struggle, is she didn't like who she was back then. And maybe for a while she kind of liked who she'd become, like at the prison and everything. But now I feel like reflecting more and more on who she is now, she also doesn't like herself. Because you're right, like no matter who you become, no matter what direction you take, like in this world, everything goes to shit pretty much.
And I think if you think about, but if you think about the flashbacks, the first flashback was after Rick kicked her out, and she was by herself, and we saw her crying, and we saw her just so sad, but she was surviving on her own, and she had a lot of time to think about what she'd done.
Reflection.
So I think a lot of this episode came from that flashback. And then the next one we saw, I believe, if I remember correctly, was her digging up, her and Tyrese taking care of the bodies. So again, it's like damned if I do, damned if I don't kind of thing. We see her in different spots dealing with this.
Right. And speaking on those flashbacks, Baha Val bringing up on the chat, the first flashback with her crying in the car was so sad, and Brian Lee's pointing out the song for the first flashback was really good. And that's a consistent theme we got to with the music. We kept on hearing that sad music playing out throughout the entire thing, no matter what they were doing, the entire episode. And with the flashbacks too, what we finally got to see was Carol's point of view for everything that we missed out on, because she's been away from the group a lot of time. We got to see her setting up camp in Atlanta on her own. We got to see everything that she's done and how she became who she is now. And as you said, Joyce, that reflection that she'd been going through on her own.
Yeah, and even with that song, as you were mentioning, some of the lyrics I wrote down, it was saying, like, because I got bad blood, just kind of, that was the theme of the entire song. And then it was also played, at the beginning when she was by herself, right after she spoke with Rick, and I took it as a correlation between her and Rick as well. Like, she felt like she had bad blood now with the group, bad blood with Rick and the team, and the way that they looked at her. So the song, I felt, definitely was trying to give us that message and tone of the scene to make us feel that way. So. And
something we should mention with Carol's, with her character too, is there's two specific books that we see her have in this episode. One of them is Tom Sawyer, and the other book is, I believe, I wrote it down. I'm trying to find the note of it, but it's like how to survive child abuse or something along those lines.
Childhood trauma.
Childhood trauma. That's what it is. So, obviously, if they're going to show a book, they're going to do it for a reason. So those are the pieces to pick apart. I've only read Huckleberry Finn, so if any of you guys read Tom Sawyer.
Well, Tom Sawyer was given. Herschel gave that to as a gift. It was from a reference earlier. Actually, I can't remember what. I can't get credit for that. I heard somebody tweeted that out.
He gave the gift to Carol?
Not to Carol. I think it was to Lizzie or somebody. Okay. Yeah, it was like to Lizzie or somebody. So Carol had that as a memento. Yeah, so that was actually a book that Herschel gave to somebody.
Okay, because she was actually taking it in this moment. Like it was in that house. But yeah, I guess because it was her memento in her little safe spot that she created.
But if there are any parallels to the show, let us know.
I'll find out. But as far as the other book, I mean, the other book, obviously, that was a book that Carol, I'm believing that we were at the place where Carol and Sophia stayed when they were running away from Ed for that day and a half.
Yeah, they said they stayed there.
They stayed there, so that's probably
temporary housing.
So that book maybe came from there. But I think what was really interesting about that book is that when we see it later on in the episode, Daryl's the one that had it.
Yep.
So I think that's really, really interesting. As why do you think Daryl had that book? Why do you think
the
he took
child trauma
that?
one or Tom Sawyer?
The child trauma one.
Well, they both come from abusive families, right? So I think it relates to both of them, which it's really interesting because those two, Carol and Daryl, like they work so well together. They have so much in common, whether it's their past and like how they're changing now and growing now. And I feel like just that book is just kind of bridging that connection. It just shows that they are way more alike than they think, and Daryl does know Carol, and Carol knows Daryl more than each other wants to believe. So
yeah, and I think they even joked about that towards the end of the episode when she said to him, you don't know me, or something. I forgot what it was.
You keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, and it was like that little engagement of smiling and
it's like
smirking
they both
a little
understand
bit.
each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have from Baja Val. Carol was reading Tom Sawyer to the kids, and then Herschel made Lizzie read the book when she was quarantined. So that would be the Tom Sawyer connection. And Brian Lee saying on the chat, it seems that the deepest character study in this episode involves Daryl, and from his point of view. And yeah, those are definitely what we really see is those characters and how they've evolved, and that's what we kept on getting throughout the episode. And Carol's evolution from at first she was this abused wife, and then she became the total badass, and now she's really lost and doesn't know where to be and who she is. And Daryl's evolution, as she said, from kid to a man, I mean, he's always taken care of everyone, but now he really is a leader. Before he was a follower of Rick's, and now he's completely leading the way and leading the charge.
Like he wasn't someone really to be trusted in the beginning, or someone who might go rogue from the group, but now he's a team player, and you see that in the end where he disagreed with Carol to save Noah, which we'll get to later, but he ends up saving him, so it kind of shows his change.
Yeah, and
in
his
that
character
moment.
is softened so much too from like the first, second season. It's like someone would say something to Daryl, he was ready to fight him instantly, and now he's more, like you said, the leader, but he's just softened up too. It seems like with everyone else. So.
Well, yeah, he was.
He says I'm family.
When we first saw Daryl, Rick had obviously left Merle up on the roof in the Atlanta rooftop, and everyone was like, "Uh-oh." They were afraid. They were afraid because Daryl kind of came across like a redneck, a little bit of a badass. Yeah. So I mean, it says a lot, especially when you see what he's done, even in this episode, the way he is talking to Carol. It's almost like he is redeeming. He's giving Carol hope. He's giving Carol a different way of a perspective of looking at things, and
especially like when Carol's gonna shoot Noah, and he immediately blocks the shot away. And every moment, and then with the walkers, when she's going to stab the walkers, and again he's like, you don't have to do this, and really completely showing her, especially after that line of her saying we can't save everybody, or we can't save them anymore, this just doesn't work anymore, and him really, as you said, Nando, just showing her another way, and like, well, you can keep trying, and I'm trying. I think that's actually one of the lines he says too.
So here's a question. Yeah, I'm trying is a big part of it too, because it goes into we're not ashes yet. So as long as we get to start over, we get to keep trying. And
she says that later too, where he's like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I'm still here."
I'm still here. Yeah, exactly. And I think that was beautiful. So here's a question for you guys, considering their relationship. So considering they both have changed so much. Right. Well, obviously, like 2 seasons ago, at least when they were in a prison, more or less, everyone was talking about them hooking up.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of relationship do you think they have now, since they're both They both seem very, very different.
Man, I thought they were gonna hook up this
when they got on the boat
in the bed.
I was sure, and they both laid back.
Just kiss the girl.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Nah, the kids interrupt everything. Banging on that door. Kids.
I was thinking we haven't seen a child walker in a very long time.
Yeah, that's true.
They always die off before they turn. I was kind of hoping we'd get a glimpse of that kid walker, but anyway.
Kind of did.
A little. In a bag. Getting burned.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I thought they were going to hook up.
Yeah. And I think that, yes, they both have changed, but they're changing almost together. So I think that by them kind of growing together, that it still is something that could work out for both of them.
Yeah.
In that regard.
It's interesting, too, like, Daryl's character in this episode is completely different than when he was with Beth. And it's that thing of, depending on who you're with, you're going to act like a different person. That's just how I think everyone is. But he really is so different in this episode than those moments when he's with Beth, where it's almost a little more carefree in a lot of ways, because she opened up that side of him, which then completely gets shut down here and shut off here. But he definitely is a little a little kinder in a way with that, like, you don't have to kill the walker part and like letting the kid go and Noah go, and just the fact of when he says, hey, I mean, it's just guns, we'll find some more.
Do you think she was going to shoot him? Do you think she was aiming for Noah's leg?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
I'm on the fence about it. I'm not convinced that that's what she was doing.
I don't think she was aiming for his leg.
I don't think
But
so.
do you think Han shot first? That's really
We're mixing our metaphors.
What also is ironic with that is because in that first scene, she did block, or he blocked Carol from shooting Noah, and then in the end, she blocked him from shooting Noah. You know, so it was like it changed towards the end of the scene.
Was he going to shoot Noah, or she just tried to get him to save Noah?
She tried to get him not to walk away.
Not to walk away from Noah.
Yeah, and then in the second, like at the end, when Noah had taken their stuff, then Derrial wanted to shoot him. Then and Carol stopped that. So she wanted to keep him alive, keep Noah alive. When he fell underneath the
she wanted to keep Noah alive. Yeah, Derrial just wanted to walk. Was Derrial going to shoot him? I don't think he was going to.
I think he was just going to let him walk away and let what happened happen. Basically,
it seemed like he was going to shoot him, but
yeah, he was just going to let him walk away. I'm curious about that because it was a bit of a role reversal. Yeah. But I almost, because when Derrial finally shot that walker on the bookcase, it was so fast. I almost wonder if Derrial was like purposely trying to say, "I'm going to walk away. Let's see," and just to see Carol go, "No, wait,"
or just to screw with the kid.
To test her attitude. Has she really changed?
I'm wondering if it was almost like a little test, like he wasn't going to walk completely.
And she passed it, so he saved Noah for that.
Perhaps, or maybe he just
That's a lot of quick thinking on his part, like bump over the bookcase and all right, let's test her out.
Or maybe he just wanted to scare Noah and say,
I was thinking like maybe scare Noah too.
He's not going to walk away from Carol like that.
Bart's saying that shows that she's coming back to humanity for all of Carol, and Derrial smoking the cigarette is a sign of him going back to his old ways. But the other thing you get too with that moment is it's really that protector mode, where before when Derrial wasn't the one who needed protecting, he was a lot softer, but all of a sudden when it's like Beth is at danger, and all of a sudden he's in gung-ho mode, we have to find Beth and do everything about it. And then when it was Carol who needed protecting, all of a sudden, like, the gloves off. Like, I'm going to do everything it takes to protect that person that I care about. So that was where I saw that reversal coming in, was him automatically going into protector mode.
Yeah.
Whereas like when it wasn't someone that he cared about at danger, he's like, whatever, I don't care. But as soon as that switch gets turned on, that's when he goes into, I'm going to smoke my cigarette, badass mode.
Yeah. I mean, the look on his face when Carol got taken away it broke my heart. I felt so bad. Like, that's when when he really does care about someone, he'll do anything.
He goes all out
to get back. Yeah.
But that was an interesting moment too, because obviously we all know that she's going to the hospital where we're assuming she's going to get taken care of because they have a doctor there, and no one knows this. And who he just met and just saved, but still probably doesn't trust 100%. And Noah's holding him back, and Derrial really wants to go there.
And good thing they did save him. So Bart actually agreeing with you, Nando, saying that he thinks Derrial was testing Carol and seeing if Noah would start talking. So he agrees with you on that one.
Well, on that one.
Right, on that one. That's all just that one point. That's the only one.
Okay.
You get this one, Nando, but next time.
All right, you and me, we're friends for that one. For that one.
So do you think that the relationship really, I mean, as you were saying, asking Nando, do you really think the relationship has grown from these moments, Derrial and Carol? Because it almost seemed like they were closer in the prison than this moment here, whereas it was just a team working together.
I definitely think more layers have been added to the relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, she hasn't really been super open with him, and she's been kind of cryptic and passive and vague about telling him what happened, when he wasn't around and all that stuff to the girls and whatnot. I'm not saying he doesn't trust her, but I think there is a little bit of a rift, and it's not like he's going, to leave her and not, help her out if she needs it. But I think there's just another complicated layer added to their relationship and their attraction, I guess.
Yeah. Sure. Well, now that Derrial's also got Beth, maybe, possibly.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. Beth brings out the fun side of him. Carol's the one who's all work all the time.
But they got in trouble when she brought out the fun side.
But I think that Beth and Derrial always seemed kind of, the age differences still seem kind of weird.
I think Carol and Daryl's probably a much bigger age difference when you really think about
it.
Maybe.
Let the cougar have her way.
He could go either way. He's in the middle of both.
I think Noah and Beth are a good combo.
Look, if they're going to repopulate the Earth, they both get it.
Daryl's like, yeah.
Fully.
So yeah, we also get so in this episode we really get a lot of Atlanta in action. We get the return to Atlanta and seeing everything, which also shows us just how close they really still are to Atlanta. They didn't really make that much progress.
Yeah.
I always thought they were further away at this point.
In all these years.
Yeah, they've just been right at the outskirts of Atlanta, just a hop and a skip away.
Yeah, they were teasing that we were going to see some familiar scenes this season. So I'm guessing obviously this because of the hospital. We knew the hospital was in Atlanta, but we got to see that one iconic shot when the cars were driving into Atlanta from the pilot that same shot when Rick was going on horseback into Atlanta. And I didn't catch it, but I know I heard that the tank was visible in one of the wide shots. I must have been writing a note or something like that. The tank that probably the same tank that Rick was on. It looked like they were on the street where that department store was at. It kind of looked very familiar.
And that's the same area he met Morgan, or where he re-met Morgan.
Where he met Glenn. Well, Morgan wasn't. He never met Morgan in Atlanta.
Yeah, Morgan was back in Intro City.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, I might be thinking of something else.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No.
Everything looks the same when it's burned down.
No, the clear episode was back in Rick's hometown.
Okay.
When he met Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But we do get all the shots of like Atlanta even more decrepit than when we first saw it a couple of years ago. I mean, also less walkers roaming around, but Atlanta is definitely even more falling apart than that first time. And this really to me felt like the apocalypse episode or post-apocalypse episode, like more so than a lot that we've seen in a long time, because there were just a lot of really long shots with just the music playing as they're searching through Atlanta. And honestly, a very movie feel to it. It's just. I don't know, there wasn't much dialogue in this episode other than Derrial and Carol questioning who they become, but just that constant post-apocalyptic feel.
Also for them, I feel like they haven't really been in a huge city in a long time. So seeing, they travel along these empty roads and then go from house to house in the rural areas, but coming into the city and actually seeing it as decrepit as it is was probably a surprise to them, because they stood and they looked and they're like, how did we get here? So I feel like it was kind of a shock.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like how much things have changed so soon too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so different in a couple of years, even just a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even when the walkers were first there, it's worse than that. So it's just not surviving well.
Yeah.
But we get that great action scene too, about halfway through the episode, where they finally end up spotting one of the cars after they make their way into Atlanta. And actually, before I get to that, though, there is something I want to mention with just how much the walkers have just become an annoyance, more so than anything else. In this episode, really showing that where both times we see them in a car, Carol in the car at the beginning, crying, upset that she's separated from the group, and the walker just there, and it's really just that annoyance. It's nothing that you have to worry about anymore. It's just annoying. And then same thing with when they first hear the walker outside the door as they're trailing that White Cross car, and it's just, again, it's an annoyance. Like, okay, all right. At first it startles them. It's just like, okay.
Like, is this walker really going to blow my cover?
Well, can I just bring that, because that scene was really interesting for a couple of reasons. The first thing that I'm glad you brought that scene up. It was when the cop first comes out, the way Carol reacted by taking her gun out first.
She did. Yeah.
It made me think it made me wonder why she did that to a police officer. If she had some kind of like gut reaction automatically that was different than Daryl's. But the big thing that I thought was really weird was when that walker came and surprised them, which was a cool, like, I jumped out of my seat a little bit when that happened. The police officer is coming back to his car, and he sees that the zombie is obviously
at another car
banging on the window, and he's like, oh, okay, just the walker banging on the window.
Yeah, it's like, I know you didn't see that when you were pulling it out of the gate.
About that, yeah.
I would have thought, there must be somebody there. The only reason why a walker will be going crazy is if there was meat, some kind of, somebody nearby.
Yeah.
And I think there are a bunch of questionable things with that, like especially the car trailing the entire time.
Yeah, you would notice something. Even so, and then also even when the walker was out the window, Carol and Derrial were still pretty high up, you know what I mean, sitting in the seat. So you would think that the cop would still be able to see them.
I mean, that lighting was right on their faces.
I was like, how could he not see them?
Not just lighting for us as an audience.
I know, right?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot, because I know the lights were off. That was actually something I was really like, are they in stealth mode? Lights are off, and they were, but still, there's another car on the road with you for that long of a drive, and you don't notice at all when you're used to being completely alone.
And he wasn't that far. Daryl wasn't driving that far
It didn't
from
seem
him.
that
Yeah, it was
far away.
pretty close. It's just
Like I would be able to hear another car. I mean, I know my car would be running too, but like you kind of feel that following feeling.
Yeah, you feel the following feeling. Especially if you're a cop.
I'm willing to suspend some disbelief and go, okay, they were trailing from a safe distance or whatever.
Yeah, I guess we kind of have to do that.
But the zombie, I mean, the walker banging on the window, I think was.
That's where the line is crossed. Before that, suspension of disbelief. Okay.
I would have been like, all right, something's up. I got a gun.
Yeah,
Let me go check it out.
checked it out.
Let me check it out.
Especially if you're a cop.
Yeah.
You're going to check it out.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Well, these are pretty
corrupt.
corrupt.
Yeah, they're not very good cops.
It's been a couple
They're
years.
still gonna check it out.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the other thing is, okay, so what do you guys think the cop was doing? Because we just saw the cop dragging a couple things on the ground and then just leaving. We never saw, at least I didn't notice him take anything specific.
I thought he was just moving stuff out of the way to go forward.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what those things possibly could have been. I mean, probably just I don't even know. But I thought they were just something blocking his way.
Yeah. That's what it seemed
At
like.
first, I was like, "Is that a body?" But no, it wasn't.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I'm really curious if anyone in the chat has some thoughts. Brian Lee's saying this episode has some plot holes for sure about what we were just talking about, and Bar's saying no more clean Hyundais. And also, another suspension of disbelief part is the middle part, or middle of the episode when they go into the van. And first of all, what? I mean, they're so
as smart as they are, strategic all the time. What were they thinking?
I mean, like, okay, so you go in there, right? But anyone who's ever watched a movie knows, like, okay, a car is going to tip over if there's more weight in the front, so at least have the heavier person stay in the back to add some extra weight to the back.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. We don't need to do that.
Let's exhaust all options that we haven't even exhausted.
And I think they tried
stay
to
in the front of the van.
because Carol said, "Let me go in because I'm lighter," and I guess they tried to kind of cover it.
Yeah, I was like, they didn't do that.
You know, there's no way that both of them could have gotten in the front seat like that.
And it's like you got walkers clawing and pushing
it,
pretty much.
Yeah.
Not meaning to push, but they're probably putting all their weight behind it, which is pushing it forward.
Yeah.
So that was a little weird.
And then
But again, at the very beginning, all they had to do is just have Daryl's just like, I'm going to stand here, and then Carol could go through, and it would be that little bit much smarter.
Well, she used those 3 shots that she mentioned. She only had 3 bullets, like right away, which I was surprised about too. And and they just ended up going back into the van. And then, of course, I know what you're going to say. I mean, I could not believe. I didn't realize that they were going to fall on land.
We all thought they were falling in water.
I was like, there must be water underneath the bridge.
I was like, okay, water. Okay, I guess they would take a chance on water and just open the doors. But no, they.
It was hard for me with that one because I said, wouldn't the van possibly explode? And wouldn't they be afraid that it would explode?
No broken bones. We saw what looked like an airbag, like an old airbag. I don't know if it was depleted on Daryl's side, but Carol didn't have that.
Yeah.
So do try this at home, kids.
Nice.
And
don't listen to Dave.
let us know how it goes afterwards.
Yes, Dave.
What?
You're gonna get some emails, Dave.
Once that happened, I was like, well, no wonder Carol went to the hospital after that. Oh my goodness,
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, they must have gotten her there.
Yeah, no, I was thinking like right after I'm like, well, good thing she ends up in a hospital, and we know that already because she needs to be there.
Yeah.
She had a rough day, you know. Getting hit by the cop car as well. That's not good.
Brian Lee, no van lands that way, and then the walkers fell like 1 minute afterwards. It was raining men. Hallelujah. I'm gonna make
Sing
that.
it,
I made that joke.
You did make that joke.
When we're
You gotta give me
watching.
that, Dave.
Gotta make it again.
That was kind of funny. Like, okay, we escaped them, and then plop.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
You can't.
See, no, that's the thing. Again, like
They're like lemmings.
freaking Walker falls from a bridge, his head explodes, but nah, you're in the car, so the seatbelt and cushion's safe enough for you to survive.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And luckily too, if you notice, the car too is slanting forward, and then righted itself out
Perfectly,
right in that.
perfectly went down easy. Yeah.
I gave it a 9.3 landing.
Yes.
Like holding my sign.
That van was
That's another scenario where the zombies are kind of an annoyance. It's like, ugh, really, this is like the cherry on top of the stupid cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would have just fought the walkers instead of trying to get in that van and flip it forward. Though I think I would have taken my chances with those walkers.
No, especially with, you see how good they are in every episode at fighting off walkers, and also just in everything. That's all we've seen. Is these are like the 2 most capable people, Daryl and Carol, most badass group
And
you
he
could
had a
possibly
machete
get.
at this point.
I think he got it right afterwards.
He didn't get
He
the
got it
machete.
And he didn't have his crossbow
Didn't have
either,
his
but I think
crossbow,
he did have a knife. But it's still like the most capable people. Instead of just running through, decide, you know what? let's try falling onto land in a
old
car.
van.
This is where it gets weird sometimes, because sometimes, you know, from episode to episode it varies. Sometimes we see them dealing with a lot more walkers with no problem, and then you see them running away from just a couple.
Yeah.
You know? Like even last week's episode, because I saw it on YouTube, like we were talking about how that looked like the most walkers we've ever seen in that expansive shot, like by that ranch. And then somebody went on and said, no, technically it's not last season. And I was like, well, it was a buttload of walkers. And so I think at times we have to assume, like, okay, you know what? We have to align with whoever's in this mess and go, okay, they don't think they can handle it, so they got to run away. Yeah. So even if we don't see enough walkers, they're the experts. They're the ones that been fighting zombies longer than we have, so there must be a good reason why they're running in the van, I guess.
But also, I feel like that kind of goes along with what I said, I think a few weeks ago, where it's like the zombies don't feel like as much of a threat anymore at this point in the show.
Yeah.
I mean, they're annoyances. They're like
annoying.
flies. You just kill them off if you need to. But yeah, like the real threat now is people, and you kind of see that more and more as you go along. But I mean, that's what I think.
I think that's where
too many of them, but there's too many of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's the swarms you worry about, but I think it is those moments like that where, as an audience member, you're like, well, you see how much of an, especially even in this episode, it's like the lone walker, and they're like, oh, walker. So then when you see that juxtaposed with all of a sudden they're scared of it, it's just like, well, you're fine with like a. But we do have a couple more scenes too, where we see all the tents that were set up with the coffin-style sleeping bags, keep you really warm when you're trying to sleep. Best-style sleeping bags.
Those were awesome.
Those must have been so stinky.
I know, but it was just so cool seeing them trying to get out of sleeping bags like little bug larvae or something like that.
Zombie burritos.
Yeah.
Always new creative ways. But it really led me thinking, it was, what do you think? Because one of the fun things with the show is trying to figure out what was the background for how they ended up that way, and especially that one there where all of them are dead still in their sleeping bags and in their tents as if there was no struggle.
You were saying they might kind of be homeless people.
I was thinking like homeless possibly, you know. I mean, I know, Dave, you had mentioned that it was maybe people just trying to escape
just
or get
hold away
but I don't know why, just with them, the way they set the scene up, it seemed to me like a homeless type of a scene, or a homeless type of environment they were trying to create.
Possibly.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, but I mean, I guess then you have to think, and I enjoyed this stuff when you wonder and try and think back. For example, in this scene, well, why are they all walkers, and why are all of them still alive walkers? As like that would mean they all somehow died around the same time. Yeah. So I guess maybe they were sipping some Kool-Aid or something. But I like those questions about what does it mean. Bahaha about saying walkers sleep over. That's what it was. So they could use that for a walker.
That could be a movie.
There you go.
That could be a new horror movie.
I know a certain little girl would be all about that.
But it kind of felt like a Halloween Horror Nights type of attraction. You get to walk through the zombie camp, you know, and
the intense zombies in the tent, and they were like trying to
just
scratch out.
I would not do well in that situation.
Just some actors just getting paid to just knock on the wall.
That's what we're gonna see Universal Studios next year. That's what's gonna be.
Right.
There we go. That's what we have. So all the other action scenes really revolved around Noah and Noah's way of trying to survive. And one other thing was he did a pretty good job running away with his bum leg. I gotta give him props for that, because we know he has a bad leg.
Noah surprised me. I mean, when we first saw him and he pretty much had the two at gunpoint, you know, he was a little badass for a second. He did not remind me of the guy that was an orderly up in the hospital 2 weeks ago.
He also somehow got that assault rifle.
Yeah. But then when he was like apologizing to Derrial and Carol, and then he rips open the tents and lets out those walkers. Like, you guys look tough. I'm like, come on, like give him a break.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to protect yourself.
Him the crossbow, but
Well, I have a question for you. Do you think that it's Noah's intentions at all to go back and save Beth?
That's a good question, because he is still in the city, and we don't know how long it's been, though.
Well, that's where Carol and Derrial were heading, and then remember they said to Noah, "Why are you following me?" And he says, "I thought you were following me." So it sounded to me like he was getting more weapons to attack.
Yeah, maybe because he does have the assault rifle now, so maybe that is exactly what it is. He was just found his gun. He's like, I got to get her out too.
Yeah,
they were both heading the same way.
Yeah, I think only at the end did we find out possibly what his motive was to help Beth also, because he obviously knows how to do it, how to get in and who to bypass to get to her. So.
Well, it was great when he finally revealed that he knew Beth.
That he knew Beth.
Yeah,
it was like we're waiting for that moment.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how they were going to have Derrial figure it out.
Yeah. So.
And speaking of which, also something leading to that was that van scene was incredibly important, because that's where they see the stretcher that has Grady Memorial Hospital or GMH on it. So, and plus, I mean, the walker would be the indicator that's a hospital, so GMH is then when they make that connection. But so really important moment. That's what leads them to that scene, and then after all that's when Carol gets decked by a car.
Damn.
Yeah,
So not only did she 2 car accidents one day. That's
I have
a
to
bad
say,
day.
that is not the reason I thought she would be going to the hospital
Me
for.
either.
Well,
No.
I mean, I always figured it'd be some kind of screw up.
Well,
So that
yeah,
was
but
kind of a screw up.
wouldn't think it was because of the people that work there.
I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's kind of what we've seen, though. Is like with Beth, it was clearly like what they tried to play it off like they didn't do anything, but it was very much like, well, it was the ones in the hospital
That's how they
who
get
did
people
it.
to stay. Is like you're right. Like they inflict the injury or they kidnap the person and they help them and save them, and then that's how they keep them because they have to owe them back.
And they just act like,
So you're saying-
well, we saved you when it was really them causing it in the first place. But
Yeah.
they try to play it off like they didn't.
So
Yeah.
you're saying that they ran her over on purpose, or are you
Yeah,
saying that
I
she
don't-
kind
I
of
think
jumped in
so.
the way?
I think they did. I felt like they were.
I think
Okay.
they did.
And especially even when they got out of the ambulance, where they were looking around,
Yeah.
it was almost like they were looking to make sure she wasn't with someone else, and then they could
It's like,
take her.
oh, this is routine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's definitely how they've gotten everyone.
You know,
So
for people who are like waiting to get rescued or waiting for for the world to change so they can save it, according to
I forgot her name.
Joan, I think. According,
Joan.
I think, yeah, Joan.
Mm-hmm.
According to Joan, they seem to not really care about visitors too much, or if they see somebody, they just want to get,
Yeah.
knock them out.
She's kind of like Abraham in a way. She's like, we're going to save the world.
in a way, in her own way.
Baha Val saying she can't catch a break. Poor Carol.
I know.
No, she
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, really, the 2 car accidents one day. That's really rough.
She's one tough woman.
And sorry, guys, it looks like Trojan horse theory. Not the case.
No, not the case.
No, not the case.
Although it's still good to have an insider there. It still could be a really good thing. We'll see how that plays
I
out.
predicted it wasn't a Trojan horse. I'm just saying. Just saying. But anyway,
All right, Nando.
I just want to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, and then that as they head back, that kind of wraps up the episode, which actually, what I predicted too is that it was going to be Noah and Derrial going back, and that's how they end up recruiting the group, which is what it looks like it's going to be. So Derrial and Noah heading back, find a van so they can drive back to the group as Noah explains the situation, and then we end once again with that theme of fire in the distance, as once again things being burned away, and possibly the idea of rebirth as well.
Yeah.
So that wraps it up. So
Yeah.
I guess really there's not any comic connections to talk about with the hospital that I can think
No,
of.
I mean, because Noah's not in the comics at least as far as this thread, because there's nothing
Right.
about Beth being
This is a very
stuck in a
original
hospital.
Very
TV
original TV,
moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Overall, I thought it was a great episode, though.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm
Yeah,
glad
yeah.
they explained the story, because we were all waiting to find out what Carol was going through when she left. So it was nice to finally be caught up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, just to see an episode with the two of them working together
Yeah.
and see that relationship, how it's evolved.
Did Derrial know beforehand that she came from an abusive family? Her
Yeah,
husband?
well,
I
only
thought she
because
only
of-
told Rick. I thought Rick was the only one who knew before he let her go.
I think it was one of those very obvious keep your
remember-
mouth shut things, because Derrial was in the camp for a
in
long
the camp
time.
for a while,
Yeah,
and
Ed
the
was beating her in
husband
the
Ed was
camp.
beating her in the camp. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty sure
yeah.
that
Okay.
Derrial knew.
Yeah, Ed was beating her in the camp, so I think it was just one of those things where it was known, but maybe nobody really acted upon it. And again, that goes to show you the difference between Derrial now and Derrial then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the Derrial now, if he was back there then,
He would have done something.
he would have done. He would have been the one to do something.
Rick, I believe,
Shane
did
was the
do
one.
so- or
no,
Shane.
was the
Yeah,
one.
Shane
Remember,
was the one.
Shane
Yeah.
beat Ed to a bloody
You're right,
pulp.
yeah.
Oh, I don't
Shane
remember
was the one to do
Shane
that.
did
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Brian Lee on the chat saying Derrial has got to be feeling cursed because he keeps losing people when he's alone with them. And Bart saying, Dave, couldn't Carol do the same thing she did in the comics when she found... Oh, we should say that for comic stuff, but possibly. So, regardless, I guess with that theme of rebirth, I think it's really good for Carol at this moment that she has Derrial, and that's really the person that she needs. And I think that's also what we saw throughout this episode, is going back to the idea, the themes, is that Daryl's going to be, or hopefully has been for her savior, and we'll find out if Carol's okay later on. So with that, we should probably go to predictions.
Let's do it.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Bahaha Val saying, hang with Derrial and you risk your life. All you ladies want Derrial, think about that. This might be one to think about there.
Ladies like danger and bad boys. So yeah.
So it's that risk, exactly.
I think all the ladies
take it from the lady.
I think all the ladies want like Daryl's companions to disappear so they might have a shot with them.
I think so.
You think that? That's what they want.
So we've seen the prediction, or what we've seen the previews and the coming attractions. It looks like it's going to be that case of when you connect the dots with a couple weeks ago, is that Derrial is back, who he's actually back with his Noah. He's getting Rick and the entire crew ready, so now they can go do their attack on the hospital. So it's going to be all the crew that's left in the church going out to the hospital to save Beth and Carol by Daryl's lead. And although I don't know why he was so shady about going up to the church, but I guess it's being just in case, that protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting. I want to see that wrapped up, though. That'd be...
Yeah, I
can't wait to see that.
Do you think, because I think we have 2 episodes left?
It's a 2 episodes left.
So do you think that it's going to be a 2-episode arc for all this, or do you think it's going to be a 1 episode and then we'll move on with the group before
I think we'll
next season?
Yeah, I think it'll be more like your second choice, yeah.
So you think we'll find out why Derrial approached the church like that after the break?
No, I meant as in we'll get to the first episode next week is going to be them taking care of the hospital.
Okay.
And then the episode after that's going to be getting you ready for it after the mid-season.
Okay.
I think...
or do you think it's going to be an entire 2-season mid-season finale, or 2-episode mid-season finale, the war against the hospital?
That's an interesting one. I think it's going to extend past the first episode, but it'll wrap up nicely in the second one, and it'll start showing us what's next for the group, the next location maybe, or wherever they go next.
And I predict we're going to lose Noah in that battle.
Same.
Really?
That's what I think too. I think he's not going to make it.
Yeah, we know this show. Just one too many black guys.
Right. One too many black guys.
I guess that's true. We can't really see.
I got in trouble for my last black comment, and I'm black.
I know.
Did you really?
I have to stay away from black comments, apparently.
I'm gonna get death threats now. I'm gonna get screwed for saying that.
It was the Tyrese baby comment.
Yeah, it was
I remember that. I wrote to that woman. I was like, "Do you know the person that you're offended at was actually
not racist against my own race?" Sorry.
No, you're not allowed to. Runner and operator of Black Hollywood Live. No.
You need to audition.
Exactly.
You need to audition. Just go on the show and stay on the show, Derrial.
Why do you hate America, Derrial? Why do you hate
I hate America.
Yeah. So you think Noah's gonna be a goner though?
I think Noah's a goner.
Yeah, I think he's not gonna make it too. And I also think, I mean, it looked like Carol was in a coma, and I feel like she's gonna stay in that coma for a while. I don't know what happens in the comics, if they're even gonna follow the comics, but I don't think she's just going to wake up and she's going to start feeling better like Beth did. I just think it's gonna be more of a struggle, more prolonged process for Carol to come back up and running.
And we saw multiple really heavy injuries for her this episode, so it definitely is a good question of what's her well-being going to be.
I mean, your
even
friend
with the doctor.
Matt, who was watching with us, is saying from that seatbelt injury, she could have some internal bleeding from that, because that's really impactful.
So she could be a goner too. This might be hopeless.
But she's not a doctor.
Her off, I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna quit the show.
That's
just kidding.
So we'll hold you to that. Let's write that down.
Right?
Yeah, if her and Derrial don't hook up, and if they kill Carol off the show.
So after the mid-season finale, we'll see if Joyce is still with us.
Exactly.
Stay tuned for that.
I think Noah's a safe bet to go. I want to say Beth too, but maybe not. I
feel like we're still going to see some more from Beth.
Yeah, I think we got to get Beth.
Yeah,
back
there are some conclusions we need from her first.
Yeah, I agree. I think Beth will be back, and it's really Carol who I'm worried about more so than anyone else.
Do you think? No, I was gonna say, do you think they'll add anybody else from the hospital? But not really. I guess like the doctor, for example.
You mean to the group?
Yeah, like the doctor, for example.
Possibly.
Okay.
I don't know, because he was shady, so it's...
Oh, he was in his own interest. He was caring for his own interest because of Joan and because of the other police officers, especially the one, the creepy one with the lollipop.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mentioned. At least Carol's not a doctor, so she's got a doctor on her side.
I mean, the doctor's making himself useful, and he's got to do shady things to keep himself in that.
I mean, they lost their doctor in
hospital.
Herschel.
And here's another thing: do you think the doctors, or I guess Beth's already probably on team against the doctor, but do you think the doctor's going to try and come with the group after they presumably beat the hospital group?
I think they need a doctor. I mean, they killed off 2 of the doctors that were with the group.
So he could become part of the group.
I think they're making the police faction in this hospital the bad people. I don't think necessarily the doctor is. He's just doing kind of like what Noah was doing. He's just doing what he can to survive.
Yeah, he's doing the questionable decisions, but he could still become part of the main group.
Yeah,
so that's definitely
everyone in this team's had to do questionable decisions.
Yeah.
So
biting people's necks off, and it's all good.
Oh, that's so gross.
I also predict that Noah, before he goes out, he's going to take out Joan.
Ooh, I hope so. That'll
So,
be his
and
last
especially
hurrah.
to save Beth and be like, now I've fulfilled my turn. My turn. Yeah. You saved
Now
me,
I
now
can
I saved
die.
you.
Exactly.
Can I do a
It's a
long form
callback.
prediction?
Go.
Sure.
Do you think that on last episode when they showed the herd, that's foreshadowing of how they're going to end this season? With the slow-moving cloud of darkness coming towards them. I mean, I feel like it'd be cool to get some episodes locked in, trapped by a herd for a long period of time, or maybe that's what they have to escape for the next season.
I'd enjoy some more. Honestly, I'd enjoy some more Walker
Yeah.
action. I like a return to that because it's been so human versus human for
It has
It would be
few
a welcome
seasons.
change.
I think that scene was just really to get like Abraham and Eugene to confess. You know, Abraham to go crazy, go through it. I don't think that's a foreshadowing necessarily.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
The team in the church doesn't know that Abraham didn't go that way, so they might be
no,
heading
but Abraham's
that.
coming back.
That's true.
I think he's definitely coming back. The group is going to reunite.
But that's gonna be
But
interesting.
they might
though.
still have to go in that direction or run into some sort of.
Well, the
horde
herd's
like that.
going towards them.
Well, the other thing that's interesting too is that even if Abraham goes back for the group and that's what they decide to do, I mean, they might decide to go on anyways because they have this agreement that the group's going to go to DC. So maybe they'll decide to try and go to DC anyways, or even if they do come back, you've now got the group leaving to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So even they could come back and be like, oh, I guess they're not here anymore.
I mean, I think what's going to happen, and I don't want to say too much just because I'm basing this on other material. Obviously, is things are the next 2 episodes things are going to get resolved, and they're going to see a mysterious person that's going to lead them to the next location. That's that's the best way to put it.
Okay.
So without being too crazy.
Don't tell us too much.
Mysterious
Right, the
person.
mysterious.
Yes.
That will be it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, we should probably wrap up. But thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us this week on The Walking Dead. Well, I'm assuming a lot of heavy action episodes probably coming up. So once again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @VDaveKlein. That is KLEIN.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as well at Nandovel, Nandovel.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Joyce Ajouri. That's JAJOURI. And you can find me on the Monday Night Gotham podcast and Tuesday Night Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcasts.
You can catch me at Derrial Christon, DerrialChriston, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, as well as Black Hollywood Live.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro,
that's
Phil
the point.
Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
It's Dawn, not Joan. Cool.
Yeah, so-
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.